Welcome back to the series, The Words of Jesus. We've been taking a look at the Gospels to see the various times that Jesus spoke, and we've taken note of who he was speaking to, what he said, and the lessons that we can learn from it. In this episode, we're going to continue looking at the words of Jesus. Let's dive right into the scripture. The first passage we're looking at today is Luke chapter 2, verses 41 to 52, where we see the young Jesus at the temple. And as the Bible tells us, every year, Joseph and Mary went up to Jerusalem for the feast of Passover, and each year they took young Jesus with them. However, when he was 12 years old, they went up to the feast. But Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem without their knowledge. So, after 3 days, they finally found him in the temple courts, talking with the teachers of the law. They were all astonished at his understanding. And when his mother came up to him, she said, "Why is it that you were looking for me? Didn't you know I should be here in my Father's house?" And Jesus said, "Why were you looking for me? Didn't you know that I must be about my Father's business?" So at that point, they didn't understand what he meant by that. And he went ahead and returned to Nazareth. And he obeyed them. And he went there until he became a man. Next up, we see John the Baptist protesting as Jesus wanted to be baptized by him. And following this, we see Jesus being tempted by the devil in the desert. Then we see Jesus calling his first disciples to follow him. And in Matthew 4 verses 18 to 22, Mark 1 verses 16 to 20, Luke 5 verses 1 to 11, and John 1 verses 35 to 42. We read that as Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw 2 brothers, Simon, Peter, and Andrew, casting a net into the water. They were fishermen. "Come, follow me," Jesus said, "and I will make you fishers of men." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. Going on from there, he saw 2 other brothers, James and John, sons of Zebedee, in a boat with their father, who was also their employer. They were fishermen. "Come, follow me," Jesus said. And immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. And James and John were the first ones that Jesus called. And he told them to go out into deeper water and let down their nets for a catch. And as they were trying to bring in the net, it was so full of fish that it was tearing apart. So Peter says to Jesus, "Master, we worked all night long and caught nothing. But because you have said so, I will let down the nets." And when they had done this, they brought in a large number of small fish, and their nets were breaking. So Peter fell at Jesus' knees, exclaiming, "Leave me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." "Don't be afraid," Jesus said, "from now on you'll be fishing for people." Then he told them that their occupation was now to become fishers of men. And that's when he called them to be his disciples. And then he goes on to call Simon Peter and calls him Cephas, and he calls Philip, and he calls Nathanael. And as he was walking along, he saw Philip, and he said, "Follow me." And immediately he left everything and followed Jesus. Then he went to Nathanael and said, "Look, here's a true Israelite. There's nothing false about him." And Nathanael asked, "How do you know me?" Jesus responded, "I saw you there under the fig tree, before Philip called you. You believe this just because I told you I saw you under the fig tree." Nathanael said, "You will see much more than that." Jesus said to him, "I tell you the truth, you will all see heaven open, and the angels of God going up and down on the Son of Man." And the next thing we see is Jesus changing water into wine, and this happened at a wedding in Cana of Galilee. And in John chapter 2 verses 1 to 11, we read that on the 3rd day all the wine ran out. Now the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." "Woman, what business is that of yours and mine?" Jesus asked, "My hour has not yet come. Fill the jars with water," she told the servants. And they filled them up to the brim. "Now take some out," she told them, "and take it to the master of ceremonies." So they did, and he tasted it. And without knowing where it came from, the master of ceremonies tasted the water turned into wine and said to the person who was in charge of the wine, "Isn't this the good wine? Everyone brings out the new wine first, and then the old wine after the guests have drunk freely. But you have kept the good wine until now." Then Jesus cleanses the temple. And in John chapter 2 verses 12 to 25, we read that when it was almost Passover, Jesus went up to Jerusalem, and he found that people were selling cattle, sheep and doves, and